telling myself that if I don't reach my reading goals this month, it's because I chose to film this video instead of read tonight. So technically, it's your fault. Kidding, of course. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby. If you are new here, I upload videos once a week on YouTube and I love doing resets every month, but today we're doing a chill girl reset. Very casual, nothing crazy. If you are new here, I am a CPA full-time and I'm also a content creator and have been for almost 8 years. And I did reset videos every month last year and I told myself I wasn't going to be able to keep up with them this year, but I was sitting down to read and I just really felt guilty for not choosing to film this because I knew if I was going to film it, it needed to be tonight. I just got my hair done today, so I didn't have to do my hair, and I went ahead and did my makeup to film some short form content this evening. I was like, let's capitalize on being ready, and I had this video planned already. It was just a matter of, will I have time to film it or not? So we're doing it. I don't know about you guys, but January felt like the longest month I've ever experienced in my entire existence, and I never want to do that again. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just like coming down after the holidays and then just like getting reacclimated to things. It just felt so long. I saw so many memes about January feeling long, so I know I wasn't alone in that feeling, but I'm glad it's over. And it's February 1st when I'm filming this. I don't really know when this is gonna get up. It may be almost the end of February by the time this makes it up. Hopefully not, but we'll see how much time I have to edit this week. But I really just wanted to sit down and chill with you guys, talk about the things I loved in January, talk about the things I read in January, talk about some of the goals I have for February, and show you all my doodle planner setup, which I actually set up like halfway through January because I just didn't really know when I'd have time to do it. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already and turn on post notifications so you don't miss any uploads, and follow me on social media, link down below always. And I did want to say I'm not sharing my TBR for February in this video. Traditionally in my resets I've shared what I read in the prior month and what I want to read in the upcoming month in one video, but I tried out doing a dedicated TBR video for February and it's already up on my channel, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. It was so much fun to film and edit it. It was my first dedicated book video since January of 2024, so a year too long if you ask me. I don't really have much to say in regards to recapping January, which I know I normally like go over my goals and if I achieve them or not. To be honest, I don't even think I set any goals for January. I don't recall doing so. One morning this past week though, I just had some downtime before I started my work day and I went ahead, wrote down my goals for February outside of the few things I'd already written down when I set up my doodle planner. I put down to have a social media detox day. I completely forgot to do that in January. I don't know how, I just forgot. I think I kept telling myself, oh, I'll do it next weekend because the month felt like it was literally never gonna end, and then I just never ended up doing it. So definitely want to do that, but I will say I've been on social media a lot less as a whole because I just don't like spending my time on it outside of my work day. So that's kept me off social media a lot more in and of itself, and just working during the day, of course, compared to when I was a content creator full time. I initially put to finish the Throne of Glass series, but that's a little ambitious, so I'm gonna just alter that goal from what I wrote down and say I want to finish the tandem read in February, which I totally think we can do. I put a little pause on it right now just because I'm reading Normal People with my friend Julia. We're just kind of like reading it at the same time. She lives in Atlanta, so we're doing like a little virtual book club and we're not even really talking about it that much. I will be picking up the tandem read probably this week once I finish that book because I definitely see myself finishing Normal People this week. I have to prioritize my well-being because I am going into my busy season for my corporate job and I really just want to make sure I'm taking care of myself and my health at the end of the day. And what that looks like for me is just like honoring and respecting my boundaries. Like if I don't feel like doing something or I don't have the energy to do something, I'm not going to do it for the sake of posting a video, for example. I am filming this video on my Saturday evening and I'm very exhausted after this work week, but this is just something that I felt like I would feel good after doing. So even though I felt a little resistance towards filming this video, I still wanted to do it at the end of the day and I knew it would make me happy to. But if it ever gets to the point where I just don't feel like I have it in me to film something or get a video edited in time, I'm not going to push myself to do it. And I want to stay on top of working out because that does wonders for my mental health, especially during busy season, and really prioritize my sleep and make sure I get enough sleep because I did not get a lot of sleep this past week just from working late a few nights and getting up early to go to workout classes and having to stay up to finish some brand deal related things. It was a very busy week and I told myself after this past week, like I can't compromise my sleep that much again. I have on here to hang out with friends 1 to 2 times this month outside of pre-planned events. So there is a Galentine's Day that my sister-in-law is hosting, and then I'll have book club this month, but outside of that, I want to make an effort to see 1 to 2 of my friends at least once or twice this month, because I'm really bad about just becoming a hermit during my busy seasons and not really doing anything social. And it's because I am so drained at the end of my work week and I just want to rest, which is fine and good, but I always feel so much better when I hang out with the people I love, and it's always worth it. So I want to make sure I'm being intentional about doing that. I want to call my family and my friends more. I have a few friends that are just like long distance friends, but I feel like we just don't talk that often, and I want to be better about like calling and catching up with them, and same thing with my family. I want to be better about like taking the initiative to text them and check in and just be better about doing that. I want to do some giveaways on my Instagram. I really just kind of want to do like some Instagram story giveaways or just random giveaways, because I definitely have a lot of products in PR that I am so grateful to receive, but one girl can simply not use the amount of things that I have. I definitely want to host some giveaways. I don't know if I'll get around to doing that this month just because of being so busy with work, but I at least want to start like planning for them. And I want to be very selective with my brand deals. I wrote picky on my actual goal page, but that's not the right word. I just couldn't think of the word selective at the time, which I have been doing, but I think I thought I could do more than I thought I could in terms of my capacity for doing brand deals for late January and early February, because I've been filming content and stuff for early February things, and I just realized that I maybe overbooked myself a little bit to be doing it on top of work, and I just need to be very selective with what I'm going to move forward with and not compromise if a brand is offering like way below the rate I charge. But it's really hard to do that because there have been 3 instances this year already where there's been brands that I like really want to work with, but they just aren't paying even close to what my rate is. But it's dream brands for me, so I've accepted it, and that just isn't right. At the end of the day, like I shouldn't be doing that, because I'm just telling them like, yeah, you can not pay me for what my content is worth, and I don't love that. But at the same time, when it's like a dream brand, it's hard because you want to like establish that relationship with them, even if it means accepting a lower rate. And I think it's just kind of like an interesting line to cross, because it's like, okay, do I do this to establish the relationship with them but accept nowhere even near my rate, or do I not do this and, you know, honor the rate that I have set? So I really struggle with that, but going forward, I now know after how busy I've been, I guess like this past like 2 weeks with work, and what I have coming up, I know that I don't need to take on as much. So if that means saying no to brands because they're not paying me what my rate is, then so be it, because I really just need to be selective about the things I'm taking on, because I only have so much capacity as somebody who's doing this not as their full-time thing, you know? And those are my goals for February. For my doodle journal setup, I really love doing February because I feel like it's an easy month for me to color, because February is just pink, purple, and red to me. And I didn't do any red because last year I did like pink and red, so I wanted to kind of switch it up and do purple instead. So I did pinks and purples, very pastel, very light, but I just went ahead and colored the flowers and stuff pink and purple. And I really like how my monthly spread looks too, with using my pink G2 pens to doodle in like the special dates and stuff, like Valentine's Day, birthdays, and all that stuff. For my habit and mood tracker, I did a little bit of different habits this month because my habit tracking has been effective since I have been coloring in almost every day for some habits. So I think it's time to retire tracking those now that I'm doing them, unless they're things that I just still really like tracking for seeing how often I'm doing or not doing something. But I did devotional, which just means like reading my devotional, and I wanted to do that because my devotional's dated, so I hate like missing days, so that'll help me actually keep up with it, I feel like, if I'm tracking the habit. Reading, of course, sleeping 7+ hours a night, exercising, having coffee at home, keeping my screen time on social media apps under 2 hours. I have film on here, and that basically just means like filming something for short form content, because I haven't been the best about doing that lately. And then I have stretch because I've been hurting from sitting at my desk so much lately. And I use the standing function of my desk at work too often, but I just think because I'm so stationary, even though it can be standing and it's not just sitting all the time, from being just like in one spot, I just feel like I'm so tight and I want to stretch more. And then I have a journal, which I don't know why I put that in here because I'm not gonna journal. Let's ignore that habit on there. I'm gonna cross that out and put something different. I'll probably replace that with making dinner at home, because I do really like tracking that because it just helps me see like how much we're eating out and stuff, but we're usually pretty good about not eating out much. And that is my habit and mood tracker. I want to move into my January reading recap of everything I read. Technically speaking, I read 8 books this month. I know, that's crazy. I don't know how I did it either. 5 of the books were technically one like 600 something page book, and those 5 books were like 130 pages each, so that's how I read 8 8 books. But if we want to be a little bit more realistic, it was technically 4 books. So let's go over what I read. For book club this past month, we read the Mindfuck series. This is an older series, and when you look at the covers of this, you're going to be like, Abby, what did you just read? But the covers were very deceiving because the books were not very smutty. There was not a lot of romance, and a lot of the romance that was in it was closed door. It wasn't even open door romance. There was a little bit of it, but there wasn't that much, or as much as you would think there would be from looking at the covers of this series. The covers are literally like the worst things I've seen in my entire life, but the books themselves do what they were made to do. I will go ahead and say they're not literary masterpieces. There's some random errors in the book with just like spelling or grammar, but there's not that many to where it like bothered me. But they are on Kindle Unlimited, which is great if you have it. You can read it as one big book. I think you can just buy all the books together, or you can get them separately on Kindle Unlimited. But the first one is The Risk, and then it's Sidetracked, Scarlet Angel, All the Lies, and Painted All Red. This is like a psychological thriller, dark romance-esque kind of series. It's about on par with how dark Conning Adeline was, so definitely check trigger warnings before reading, because a lot of really twisted, messed up stuff happens in the book. But the series is about this woman who is a serial killer, and she is a serial killer specifically of people who did her wrong in the past. And when I say did her wrong, they did her like really, really wrong. So there's a little bit of ethics involved with, okay, she's a serial killer, which is like obviously whoa, but she's killing people who have done horrible, horrible things. So it kind of presents that ethical dilemma. At the very start of the series, she meets this FBI agent in a cafe. It kind of instantly hit it off, which I didn't really love because I'm somebody who loves a slow burn, and they just kind of saw each other and were like, oh my gosh, we need to be together. But this FBI agent ends up being put on her case and doesn't know that she's the serial killer, but she obviously knows that he's on her case. It's crazy. It's very Criminal Minds-esque. They're very easy to read. They're very fast-paced because there's constantly stuff happening. I don't think it was predictable because I really don't like predictable books. I will say it was one of those things where everything was kind of perfectly convenient with the way things ended up happening. So if that bothers you, where it's like so convenient to where it's not realistic, then you'll probably be a little annoyed with the books. But as far as my rating goes, I rated the books between 4 and 5 stars, 4 and 4.75, I can't remember. I totally understand why people would not like these books, but I base my ratings for the most part off of how easy it was for me to get through them, if I had a good time while I was reading them, if I enjoyed my experience reading them. And when we went to Utah for our like skiing and snowboarding trip at the beginning of the month, I read all of these while I was there because they were just so easy for me to read, and once I picked them up, it was hard to put down because I just always wanted to know what was happening next. So they're definitely page turners. So when I'm reading it in regard to it being a page turner and me wanting to finish the book and read the book, it was definitely at that 4 to 5 star level. But if we're talking about truly like in comparison to all the books I've ever read in my life, is it a 4 or 5 star compared to my other 4 or 5 stars? Probably not as much, but it was still such a good series. And unfortunately, the author is actually no longer living, which is really sad. But if you're looking for something to either get into reading, or if you're in a reading slump and you just need something like quick that's gonna get the job done, that series is a great place to go. I listened to the audiobook One Day in December by Josie Silver. I listened to about 60 to 70% of this in December and then finished it in early January. And this was a 2-star for me. It was honestly insufferable. If I had to sum up the premise of the book in a sentence, it would be 2 characters having pity parties for themselves over having to deal with the consequences of their own actions. And I just can't sit through that. I was really bummed though, because I was really looking forward to it. I had a lot of people message me and comment on my YouTube video when I like mentioned I was listening to it that they loved it. And I think it's because I went into it blind. I didn't really read what it was about. And I thought it was gonna be this like really cozy December read, but so much of the book doesn't even take place in December. The only thing that even happens in December is when the female and male protagonists see each other for the first time. And then the rest of the book just takes place over 10 years at different times of the year. So it wasn't like a cozy Christmas winter read like I thought it was gonna be, and I think that that really annoyed me. It's a dual POV, and there was a male narrator and a female narrator, and I didn't really love them, but I think it's because I just didn't love the characters. Our female protagonist though is heading home one day on the train, and she catches a glance of this guy, and they look at each other and they have this moment. It's very insta-lust, which I also just don't love. But she is pretty much for a year like hoping to run into this guy again because she just felt like he was the one. Her best friend knows about it and that she's just been looking for him, and she's finally giving up on it after a year because she's like, I'm not gonna see him again. I'm somebody who really likes a slow burn, and if where technically speaking this book was a slow burn, but the initial connection between the female protagonist and the male protagonist was very insta-less. And then she's at a party, I believe, and her best friend is like, oh, I want you to meet the guy that I've been seeing, or this new guy I'm talking to and dating. And it happens to be the guy that she saw at the bus stop who also saw her. Her best friend Sarah knows about the guy that she's been looking for, but she just doesn't have it in her to tell her, even though they just started dating, that that's the guy she's been looking for a year. But like they had just started dating, so I feel like it wouldn't have been that big of a deal to say something. She just chose not to say anything at all. So then they start dating, and then she's just so sad and has to live with it, and then she ends up meeting another guy, and then you're just following their lives over 10 years. I won't spoil anything with the ending, I just only wanted to really say what was known from the synopsis if you read it, but it just wasn't my favorite. And then I listened to Be Ready When the Look Happens by Ina Garten on audiobook as well, and this is a memoir, and it was so good. It's about her story going from working in the White House on nuclear energy budgets to becoming the owner of Barefoot Contessa and having her show on Food Network and writing numerous cookbooks. And I will say, she's someone I knew who she was. I had seen her before, I knew what her name was, but I didn't really know very much about her at all. And I saw that it had a lot of really good reviews, and after being burned by listening to One Day in December, I just wasn't really feeling listening to fiction on audiobook, and I just wanted to listen to not nonfiction, but just something that would be like a feel-good, easy listen. And that's what I saw this memoir described as, and she just seems like such a gem of a woman, and I just loved all of her little nuggets of wisdom, and she was very vulnerable in it about her relationship. She shared some stuff that she had never spoken about before. And I just love hearing people's stories of where they're like working in some analytical job and they're just like, what am I doing? And then they just pivot and jump in to something so completely unrelated and something creative and just go after their dreams full speed ahead. I just think it's super inspiring, and I just loved all of the little lessons she shared as she navigated being a business owner for the first time, managing people and scaling her business and growing with the ever-changing world with the introduction of social media. And she talks about her upbringing and how it was rough, but how it shaped her into who she became as a woman. And she's just so wise, and I found myself laughing in it. I teared up towards the end, and it was just really, really sweet. And I gave it 4.5 stars. And then I finally finished reading The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control, which I started reading a year ago. I know I mentioned in a vlog, it didn't take me that long to read it because it was bad. It took me that long to read it because I needed to be in the right mindset to receive what this book was giving me. And nonfiction's not really my favorite, but I do really like reading it in the mornings before work if I have time. And I really made the time for it this month. And as you can see, I tabbed so much in this book. Even on top of this, I highlighted and underlined a ton throughout. And I wanted to share just like some of my favorite things from this book. But first I will say, this is a very, very profound and moving book as somebody who has struggled with perfectionism for so long. I don't think being a perfectionist is something to boast about or something to wear as a badge of honor, which I feel like a lot of people do. And I say that because I think perfectionism is like a disorder, and she talks about that in this book. Like, it is very, very serious, like once it gets to a certain level, because it absolutely impacts your ability to feel certain things, think certain ways, and the way you live your life. But my overarching favorite thing about this book is it did not tell me I need to fix myself. That's what I hate about nonfiction and self-help-esque books. I feel like so many of the self-help books from like 2016 to 2020-ish were so heavy on like fixing yourself and becoming this better version of you and everything, which inherently implies that you are broken, less of a person without doing that fixing. All that to say, I know that we are broken as humans. We're imperfect people, we make mistakes, but I don't need a self-help book telling me I need to fix myself, or I'm not going to find success or happiness, etc. until I have this routine or I think this way. So I just love that this book helped me realize I don't need to fix myself. I just need to accept that this is a part of who I am and learn how to cope with that and learn how to live with that. There's a little quiz in it, which you can actually just take the quiz online if you don't really care to read the book, but it tells you like what kind of perfectionist you are. But it goes through the 5 different types of perfectionists and kind of describes what those perfectionists are at their core and kind of how they are in an adaptive perfectionist state, which is a healthy functioning perfectionist, and then in a maladaptive state, which is a perfectionist who is struggling and not functioning well with being a perfectionist. There's intense perfectionist, classic perfectionist, Parisian perfectionist, procrastinator perfectionist, and messy perfectionist. When I did the quiz last year, I was a Parisian perfectionist, and then I had intense and procrastinator as my second place by just 1 point. So that's the kind I am, but I did want to read just like a few of the takeaways from this book. I went through right before I filmed this and just flipped through all of my tabs, which took me quite some time, and I wanted to share just like some of my favorite takeaways. In this chapter about celebrating your perfectionism, there's a part that says, a lot of perfectionists think they're driven by success when what they're really driven by is the avoidance of failure. When you're driven to achieve success, that's called promotion-oriented motivation. When you're driven to avoid failure, that's called prevention-oriented motivation. And I am definitely somebody who is driven to avoid failure. This one was really profound for me. It says focusing on what you need to move away from can make you feel like you're in a negative space, but don't mistake honesty for negativity. The more you distance yourself from the wrong paths, the more likely it is you'll stumble onto the right ones. That's a word. In a section called Swap Better or Worse for Difference, there's a part that says keeping your world small is a protective mechanism enacted by the part of you that does not understand that when you're connected to your inherent worth, you have a built-in protection system. Yes, you will fall, and yes, you will feel the fall, but because you know your worth, the fall will not define you. And right before that, there's a part that says self-imposed upper limits on what you can and cannot do and who you can and cannot be are control tactics. You're trying to control your vulnerability to getting hurt, and I really needed to hear that. In the chapter New Thoughts to Think to help you stop overthinking it, there's a part that's called Simple Isn't Easy, and I highlighted so much in this area. One particular thing I loved was this: at the opportunity cost of exploiting their natural strengths, perfectionists often focus on trying to improve their weaknesses. Perfectionists think, once I turn all my weaknesses into strengths, I'll be perfect / ready / better / unstoppable / worthy. Wellness is not about figuring out how to get rid of your weaknesses. It's about accepting your weaknesses so you can deploy your energy into maximizing your strengths. That was crazy for me to read. And it further talks about how we don't need to delve into the nuance of why you're not good at something. There's a part that says right after that, when you have a true passion for something you're not good at, that's not the same as having a weakness. It just means you're a beginner. When you're trying to improve upon that which you hold passion for, you're not hemorrhaging energy because you're being pulled, not pushed. It's different. And last two things I'll share: without pleasure, our lives become performative. We perform in ways we think will make us happy instead of trusting ourselves to explore what feels good and right. The more you deny yourself access to pleasure, the less you can access your instincts about what you need and when you need it. When you make your access to pleasure conditional, aka a treat for being good, you're communicating to yourself that whether you deserve the feel-good lies in direct proportion to your performance, not your existence. This was 5 stars for me. It was so good. If you struggle with being a perfectionist or you just think that you might be one, I think it can be a really helpful read for you, and it's not something you need to read like all in one sitting. You can read it like I did and just pick it up when you feel like it, and it's still going to have an impact. Now moving on to my favorites. A lot of my favorites are beauty related, so I will start with those. First up, we have this Good Molecules Mandelic Acid Serum, and I've really been loving this. It doesn't really look like I've used a lot because I only use it like once or twice a week. Very, very affordable, and it's a really great option if you have very sensitive skin but you want sort of a chemical exfoliant serum or some kind of chemical exfoliant. It's not abrasive, but it's a gentle exfoliating serum with AHA to help maintain a clear, smooth, and even skin texture. And skin texture is one of my biggest skin concerns. I just get like very kind of rough feeling skin on my chin. I use it like once or twice a week at night, and I definitely notice that my skin just feels a lot smoother when I use it. I cannot remember how to pronounce this. I looked it up one time, but I don't even know if it was correct. I don't think it's Ole Henriksen. I'm gonna say Ole Henriksen. This is the Pout Preserve Peptide Lip Treatment. This is like my 3rd tube of this stuff. I freaking love it. This is just like the classic one, and it's clear, but I also really love the tinted one. I keep this in my work bag, but I also have one in my car. The one I have in my car, I always apply it as soon as I get in my car, and I love wearing this one to work just to have like something on my lips to have them feel and look moisturized. And it lasts so long. It's not sticky, very smooth. There's no grittiness to it. I have the Summer Fridays one and I really like it, but there's definitely a little bit of grittiness to it. This is so smooth. It feels so good on my lips and it lasts forever. Next we have the Rare Beauty Clear Brow Gel, and I love this stuff. I saw so many people talking about it on TikTok and I was like, okay, it must be good if this many people are talking about it. And I needed a new brow gel, so I wanted to try one out. My eyebrow hairs themselves are like very thick and very coarse. They are literally curly if I like let them grow and don't trim them. With that being said, they don't like to stay in place and they kind of go all over the place. My brows do not move when I use it, so I've been loving it. Another Ole Henriksen product, this is the Banana Bright Instant Glow Moisturizer. I'm a solid decade late to trying this stuff, but I love it. It smells so good and citrusy, and it's so refreshing to put on in the morning, and there's vitamin C in it, which vitamin C is something that I used to not really use in my skincare routine because I had one bad reaction to it when I was in college and then just stayed away from all vitamin C collectively after that. But both times that I've had facials, the people have told me that I need more vitamin C in my skincare routine. So I like this because it's not like I'm using a super concentrated vitamin C serum, but I'm still getting vitamin C, and it just feels really good on my skin. My skin always feels very hydrated when I wear it, and it wears well under my makeup. It doesn't pill, so I've really been loving that. And then we have the Dermalogica Daily Microfoliant. I've been using this for 2 years almost, and I don't know why I haven't mentioned it in a favorites video before. If I need a little bit more intense of an exfoliant, I like using this. It's called Microfoliant, and seriously, it's tiny little pieces of like almost sand, but even smaller than that. And then once you get it wet, it kind of turns into this lather, and it is the best at like stripping your skin of texture. So when I use this, my face feels so smooth, and I use it probably twice a week, but it's the best thing I've found for like an immediate relief in terms of my skin not feeling super textured. And then we have this T3 airbrush, which I got sent this in PR and was not expecting to love it as much as I do, but it's a blow dry brush, and the barrel of it's large, which I love because I obviously have long and a lot of hair. I didn't use it to style my hair today because like I said, I just got my hair done. But if you've seen me with my hair straight or styled in any capacity, like in my Instagram posts or on YouTube in the last month and a half, this is what I used on my hair, and it's so good for volume. It's really quick, and I love that I can do it from my hair being wet and damp, and it will achieve a straight blowout like this. I think it does a wonderful job for styling my hair, but not having it be stick straight, and being able to have like the big loose kind of curl look. These were an impulse purchase at CVS, but they might have changed my life. It's the Zitstica Goo Getter Nose Clarifying Pore and Blemish Strips. I used these in a vlog recently, and I was in shock when I saw how good it worked. My nose up close has sebaceous filaments. They look like blackheads, but they're not actually blackheads. They've always drove me crazy and been a little bit of an insecurity, especially just like up close, and sometimes they look a lot worse than other times. But I used one of these, and most of them gone. Like literally nowhere to be found. Who is she? And it's been over a week since I used these, and my nose still looks amazing. It's not like it was just like this quick fix and I need to use one every night for it to look good. I mean, it cleared my nose out of everything. I was in shock. I have found nothing to work with helping on my nose, even the exfoliants I use, and this is the first thing that's truly worked. And I've also been avoiding putting any product on my nose in the morning and evening, like moisturizer, nope. Hyaluronic acid, nope. I only will let myself put niacinamide on my nose, and I feel like not putting products on my nose has helped too, because the pores aren't getting as clogged. So I think that that's also been helping. And then we have my Kindle case from Page the Shop, which is a really cute shop that I found on Instagram. I initially heard about it through Jenna Han, and then I know Lottie Smalley also has their cases, but this is the Out of the Woods case, and it is so freaking cute. I love it. It's like a very pretty sage green trees and then like a cream background, and it has a very like pearlescent kind of sheen, and I've been loving it. I love the little hand strap on it so I can read it like this, and I don't know, I look at my Kindle and it just makes me so happy because I'm obsessed with the case. And I got my mom to get one, and I think my sister-in-law is gonna get one, so all the girls are loving them. Also been loving some new jewelry I got recently. I got it in PR from Brooke and York, and they're one of my favorite jewelry brands. I worked with them on Instagram in 2023, and I still wear those jewelry pieces, but I got this really pretty enamel ring, and it's a gold and a light pink, but it's so pretty, and it comes in lavender, whites, and pink. And I almost got the lavender, but I figured the pink would look better with like my different nail colors I do, and just overall act more as a neutral. It's just such a pretty statement without being like anything too crazy, and it's really great quality. I love it. I do have a discount code with them too if you want to check them out. I think it's Asselin 15. I also have this really dainty cross necklace that I think is so pretty. I wanted another dainty necklace that I could just wear every day like to work, because I don't necessarily love wearing my charm necklace every day to work. Like some outfits it looks right, but then other times I'm like, I feel like this isn't a work necklace. I don't know, but I really love this necklace as well, and it's just beautiful. And it's a lovely small business, and they make all their stuff handmade on the East Coast, and I think it's a women-owned business and everything, so I love supporting a smaller business. I've also really been loving our candle warmer that we got from Amazon. I got it in December, and I very rarely will burn candles now. I mean, I'm obviously burning this one right here, but I am only burning burning it because I only have one candle warmer, but it has absolutely changed the game. The candles literally last so much longer. I thought people were being dramatic when they would talk about candle warmers, but because you're not lighting a wick and it's just melting and then rehardening, the candle can last forever. I mean, you probably realistically should pour out the wax every couple uses, I would say, but we haven't done it at all on the candle we have downstairs, and we've burned it so many times and it looks like a brand new candle basically. And you don't have to worry about like the smell of the smoke when you blow a candle out and all that stuff. I've been absolutely loving it, and I think it's great because it kind of acts as a piece of decor. I'll leave the one we have linked down below. I've also been loving our record player we got for Christmas, and I freaking love it. It's like a true legitimate one, not like a suitcase one. The suitcase ones can like really mess up your vinyls if you have them, and I'm not like condemning them because I used to have one, but I was just always so scared to use it, so I never used it. But I've actually been listening to the vinyls I have and everything on it, and one of my favorite things to do on my work from home days is once I start getting ready to cook dinner, I'll put one on and just kind of listen to it while I'm cooking, and I don't know, I love it. And now I'm like really wanting to get so many vinyls, but I'm like, okay, I don't need to get everything at once. I can get a little bit at a time, but there's just like so many that I want, and it's definitely pricier obviously than like just listening to the music through my Spotify plan, but it's a whole experience in and of itself. So I've really been loving it and loving our setup overall that we have. And then last but not least, this one's random, but we had some cleaners come to our house yesterday and clean our home, and that's the first time in my life that I've ever done that, and it was the best $140 I've spent in my entire life. I don't regret it a single bit. The way it felt when they left, and I was like, our house is so clean and I didn't have to do anything. It was like 3 or 4 women, and the amount of cleaning they did, it would have taken me probably like a full 8 to 10 hours if I did it by myself, but like obviously if it was Griff and I, it would be like 5 hours, but that's still a lot. They did everything. I mean, they wiped down like the exposed baseboards. They didn't like go behind furniture or anything and wipe down baseboards, but they wiped down the baseboards, they cleaned the ceiling fans, they did our dishes. I'm on cloud 9 with how clean our space is right now, and the fact that I don't have to like lift a finger to clean this weekend besides doing our laundry is just making me feel so much more recharged and so much better. Like I wouldn't have been able to film this video if we had to clean this weekend, you know what I mean? So it's freeing up so much time in my schedule, and I'm so thankful to be in a position where we can choose to do that with our money, because it's one of those things where you're like spending money to buy yourself time, and that's exactly why I wanted to do it, because of it being, you know, busy season for me and everything, and I definitely think we're gonna keep doing it. We'll probably only do it once a month because I think that we can manage like cleaning up after ourselves for what we need to do over the span of a month, like once or twice a month. I just feel like $1,000,000 having the clean space, so that's a new favorite for sure. Those are all of my favorites. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end, comment a pink heart. Let me know if you enjoy seeing the monthly reading related videos separate, or if you just kind of like everything in one reset video like this. It's definitely helpful for me for knowing what I'm going to film in the future. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't already, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload, and follow me on my social media link down below, and I will see you all in my next video.